Today's edition focuses on spotlights the latest trends, technologies and strategies revolutionizing Africa's gaming industry as we count down to the Africa Gaming Expo Lagos 2025, a platform which seeks to connect the brightest minds and innovators in the gaming, fintech, banking and allied industries. Now, the role of artificial intelligence in this growing market serves as an anchor point for next year. How is Nigeria positioning in this mix? Well, the Chief Executive Officer, Lagos State Lotteries and Gaming Authority, Bashir Are, and Adenike Oyebamiji, Vice Chairperson Organizing Committee at the Africa Gaming Expo, walk me through the scope, skill and strategy of Age Lagos. Welcome to the show. I'm David Alabi. Thanks a lot for your time on the show today, Ms. Sarah. Now, let's get into how you would describe Africa's gaming industry at this moment right now, the drivers of the growth we've seen so far, and looking at how all of these filtered through into the sort of engagements we had at the maiden edition of Age Lagos.
Okay, thank you very much. Right now, the driver for growth, two things. Number one, the youthful age on the continent. If you look at the population of Africans on the continent, the age between 18 and 35 is huge. Second is the broadband extension, or so-called expansion. So there is virtually internet everywhere, even with satellite. Starlink is doing very great on the continent. So another thing is that the youth themselves, they're into software development. So they're developing games, gamifications, sport betting, and then we also love sport on the continent. So those are the things that are driving the market. And when you look at that, and the international investor can see that there's a lot of opportunity to be tapped into. So those are the things that are driving the sector on the continent.
And Adenike, also bringing you into the conversation right now, I'm pretty keen on the sort of nuances, trends and intricacies at play right now, because when we also look at some of the solutions that were proffered from the maiden edition of the Africa Gaming Expo, we look at the white paper here. Can you walk us through some of the highlights, the solutions, areas of concerns, and how does this set the tone for the sort of engagements we should expect going into next year? How is this positioning the market as a whole?
Thank you for having me. After the maiden edition, we sent the white label, we collated the recommendations, we highlighted some of the challenges, and sent an email to all attendees as well as our partners for the maiden edition. And then some of the highlights, is gaming standardization. So we had African gaming regulators from different countries across Africa, discussing how to synergize, gaming activities and how to collaborate together. So flowing from that, for 2025 edition of the Africa Gaming Expo, we would have what you call the Africa Gaming Regulators Briefing. So this time around, we're not just doing Anglophone African countries like we did for the CA edition. For next year, we'll have both Anglophone and Francophone countries in Africa. So we have like a session where, they can connect, they can network, they can learn from each other and see how to improve their operations.
And I would like you to just clearly state as well again, in terms of the challenges, the biggest takeaways there.
Okay, for example, one of the challenge, like if you look at the Nigerian market, at the time when we had the maiden edition, regulations were not clearly defined because, at the time we had the federal government and the state government regulating gaming in Nigeria. But, in October or November this year, the Supreme Court gave a judgment in deciding that state governments have the power to regulate gaming in Nigeria. So that was a major challenge for the Nigerian market, and, it's been resolved, and, we're taking it up from there for next year Age.
I would come to you now, Mr. Arab, but when we're also talking about regulations, before we go into the nitty-gritty around that, I would still want us to build the foundational blocks at this point in time, looking at between the maiden edition that we had this year and then how we're positioning for next year. When we talk about the sort of disruption we've seen in the market, leveraging artificial intelligence, the sort of introduction it also brings to the fore when we're looking at the intersection of the gaming software platforms and the payment industry, I'd like you to speak on how the Africa Gaming Expo is positioning in all of this mix to support the industry as a whole, fill the gaps, provide the necessary incentives for young innovators? You talked about the boom we are seeing in game developers here on the continent, and how does this set the stage for a bigger impact?
Thank you very much once again. I think this is a very good question. Right now, on the continent of Africa, like never before, the regulators on the continent are working together, they're collaborating, are trying to bring gaming standards across the continent to be seamless, simple, and collaborative. So the African Gaming Expo has really helped us to give us a platform where we can meet and talk and discuss, have a workshop, have a forum. That's one. The second thing is that now the platform providers and operators, they are really keen, they are interested in coming together now that the African gaming regulators are working collaboratively together. So it's a form of stakeholder engagement where we can all come out and say, this is the way the industry should go. This is how we can collaborate together. Now we're doing reciprocity enforcement on the continent with countries doing bi-national agreement and multinational agreement so that they can collaborate together. We're even looking at ways where we can reciprocate our licensing.
Yes.
For example, if we're working very strongly with the country of Botswana. So if you have a license in Lagos, for example, you can take that license to Botswana with a certificate of good standing and vice versa. So we're trying to extend that so that the operation of the business can be very easy from the operator's perspective.
And now, Adenike, we've talked about how this niche market is also leveraging the boom we're seeing in 5G and internet penetration, the sort of growth we've also seen in the African smartphone space at this point in time. While we are talking about how we are laying the building blocks and painting the picture of the interplay between local and foreign service providers, walk us through the opportunities that are available right now, the sort of talks down the table, and then the pool of representation that we would expect at Age Lagos 2025.
Thank you. Age 2025 offers a platform for gaming operators, software providers, game providers, banking stakeholders, fintech stakeholders, as well as technology innovators to synergize, to collaborate, to network, to learn. Now we have various panel sessions and presentations that refers and touch points on various challenges and issues that are going on in the African gaming market. We also have a panel, for example, on emerging markets in Africa, exploring new frontiers that provides opportunities for investors to see and leverage on this industries. For example, we have regulators from Namibia, Angola, Uganda, Rwanda on that panel. Then we also have a panel session on responsible gaming, balancing player protection and entertainment. You have to ensure that there's a balance in as much as you're playing the game, you have to ensure you protect your players as well. So we have various panel sessions. Then we also have a panel session on navigating Francophone markets. Particularly we English-speaking countries, some consultants, some investors find it very difficult to navigate this Francophone market because of language barrier and some other challenges. So this time around, we have regulators from Guinea, from Ivory Coast, from DRC, coming together to discuss how to navigate their market.
Yes, and talking about navigating the market now, Ms. Sarah, we also have to really take cues from other emerging sectors. Take, for example, crypto, the blockchain sector as a whole now. There have been concerns as to whether or not the government really understands how this ecosystem really works. Let's narrow down towards incentives at this point in time. Adenike has talked about the sort of expansion and integrating the Anglophone and Francophone African countries at this point in time. We're looking at a better pool of representation. But in terms of incentives, new entrants, what do you think should be on the table right now to ensure that we have a bigger play of activities?
What is really good that's on the table right now is the collaboration between among African regulators. So we have a forum called Gaming African Regulators Forum. So we're now talking to each other on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis. We have forum, we have discussion. We're trying to standardize the regulation So operator will not, there will be no much different moving from one nation to another. We're also exchanging ideas, we're exchanging technologies, we're exchanging reciprocity enforcement. We're also learning from each other. We are also trying to promote investor in the manufacturing sector. Give an example, South Africa is very big for casino. So now, is there any country on the continent where slot machines are being manufactured?
Manufactured, yes.
So those are the things we're looking at. We're looking at about 4 or 5 different countries where this opportunity can be enhanced. If you know the policy of ECOWAS, if you manufacture in ECOWAS boundaries, you can move goods and services with ease. So we're looking at all those in Africa, free continental trade zone. We're also looking at how we can take advantage of gaming on that trade agreement on the continent.
Yes.
So those are things that are on the table that go for investor, for platform providers. So, when the regulatory environment is flexible, transparent, and fair, then the market is easier to enter.
So now, Adenike, wrapping up the conversation, let's talk about the unique value proposition this next year's outing is going to bring to the fore. We've talked about how new entrants have a market here, how they should position. But in terms of exhibitors, what's in the offering?
Okay, let me start with, the dates for the event. The Africa Gaming Expo, the 2025 edition, is scheduled for the 24th of February, 2025 to 27th of February. We'll be commencing on the 24th with the opening cocktail and registration. Then the conference proper commences on the 25th with exhibition, sponsorship panel sessions, presentations, down to the 26th of February. So exhibition continues, conference continues, and then we'll have a closing and dinner ceremony on the 26th of February 2025. 26th. Then 27th is when we'll now have the Africa regulators, gaming regulators briefing, where they have, access to network and discuss and collaborate, strictly by invitation for the regulators. And then we also have entertainment, Spirit of Lagos. We have those boat cruise planned for our attendees to see and, to see the beauty of Lagos, look at the landscapes, and just bask into the euphoria of the Lagos spirit.
And to register?
And then to register, very easy, very seamless. Just go to our website, www.agelagos.com, and click on register and, just follow the process through there.
Thanks a lot for your time on the show today, Adenike. And it's also a pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Arif. Thank you so much. And now with a countdown on to the second edition of Age Lagos, the organizers say the outing will serve as the launchpad to scale the offerings that will transform Africa's gaming, software and payments industry. That's it on this focus on Africa Gaming Expo 2025. Many thanks for watching. I'm David Alabi. Bye for now.